Outlet Liquor is your place to buy a case. Stock up and save when you shop the lowest prices available every day at Outlet Liquor. You never have to wait for a sale. The more you buy, the more you save. Only at Outlet Liquor.
What's your outlet?
Yeah. Bills Mafia. Don Brown. Yeah. It's the Mafia, you know I'm rocking with the Bills. It's the Mafia, you know I'm rocking with the Bills. It's the Mafia, I'm with the Buffalo Bills. It's the Mafia, you know I'm rocking with the Bills. Hey. Who you reppin', what's your team? Who you reppin', what's your team? You know I'm reppin' for my team. I got that talent on my team. Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, can you catch it? Can you? Trade day is like a mask, do not catch it.
Folks, welcome into a brand new episode of the Crowd Assist podcast presented by Trainwreck Sports. I love now using that Don Brown song because I watched Kevin and Merekat bump to it during the intros. So you're going, oh yeah, we're rocking with the Bills, just like all you are. Thanks for being here. We got a really fun show for you guys today. We're going to analyze the Bills' schedule, picking every game, talk about the hand that the schedule makers dealt Josh Allen and company, and we'll do some cap or no cap with win totals from other teams around the NFL. But before we get into it all, you saw their commercial at the beginning of the show. Got to remind you, we are sponsored by Outlet Liquor, the place to buy a case. Whether it is wine or spirits you're looking for, they are here to make sure your cabinet is stocked and loaded. Located at 2152 George Urban Boulevard in Depew, 7 days a week. Walk-ins and curbside pickup only. Outlet Liquor. What's your outlet? Our outlet for the summer is trying to figure out what the hell to talk about. Luckily, we still have the schedule to talk about since me and Merekat's immune systems were too flawed to let us allowed to get on here last week. But we got a good show now. It's going to be a dry summer, though. Like, I've never had a dry summer of Bills content creation for. Kevin, do you have any advice for dry summers? Because, the NFL news is going to be few and far between.
I think it's all about being creative. So I think for me, it's always looking at trade targets. I mean, it's always talking about getting that in a little bit. It looks like Zach Ertz is going to resurface at some point, whether he's cut or traded for a day 3 pick, one or the other. I mean, I think teams are probably most interested in the contract. He's most interested in getting probably his last contract. So there's some stuff to watch out for. So that's really what it is. Brandon Beane's playing his roster gymnastics. So there's plenty to talk about in terms of who we could pick up, who we could look around and trade for, whether it's cornerback 2, tight end 1. I mean, there's a couple, of those final positions that, the Bills, and it looks like they're interested in trying to find that nose tackle. They went out and signed a couple of vets there. So other than that,
they've been sneaking around the cornerback market too. Nothing with Steven Nelson yet, but there were a lot of teams interested. So maybe there's more going on behind
Richard
the scenes
Sherman.
There. Yeah,
could pop
that's
his head up.
Our guy.
Yep. Could pop his head up in July at some point. So there's some cornerback 2s to look out for. Trades always viable with Brandon Beane. So, I mean, I think that's what we're looking for. We're trying to designate who could be a potential trade target for the Bills, who could be cut and they could add to this roster at any point. But tight end 1, cornerback 2, maybe tackle. Those are probably the 3 remaining position groups at this stage that they can improve on, because I think we know that I don't think they're going to improve running back, and there's nothing really to do at receiver. The offensive line's kind of there. Defensive end's there. Linebackers there. So that's what we're looking for, kind of monitoring that cornerback tight end market and potentially, looking into that DT market.
And speaking of roster construction, the draft that we did last week, Merekat, he took the Twitter poll kind of handily, and here's the teams that we came up with. We are going to put this out again now that we know the schedule. Maybe people can change their minds, change their votes based on that. But Merekat, you drafted a lot of the good games here on the Bills schedule. You won the Twitter poll. Seeing the schedule come out, what was your initial reaction? Maybe not about your team of draft picks here, but just for the Bills. How do you feel about the schedule? What hand they got dealt here?
With the Bills schedule, I mean, relating it to the games I picked too, Tampa, not the opener. Kevin had a good call. I'm pretty sure he thought it was going to be Pittsburgh, but still, get 425 time slot. But, I was banking on New Orleans. Thanksgiving there is a huge get. And then Tennessee Monday night as well. Like that, those are great games. Looking at the schedule, I mean, nothing really sticks out. Do I wish we had more home primetime games? Yeah, but I'm not even not even from like a fan perspective, just as a content creator, doing my post-game write-ups, making memes on the fly during games and stuff. I don't even go to games anymore. So like the 1 p.m. starts are actually kind of ideal because, you got the morning to prepare and then you get it done. You're done with your stuff. You can enjoy like the later football and all of that. But the late games, you're staying up late trying to grind it out. And,
it's hard.
I'm okay with this schedule. Yeah. There's just one little stretch there where, we only play one home game in, like a 50-day span from October 4th to November 20th. But other than that, I really don't have any problems. And I'm not a huge strength of schedule guy, but when you look at it, I mean, tied for 23rd, best strength of schedule. It's pretty nice there. I'm okay with opening at home. I wanted the first game to be a home opener if it wasn't Tampa Bay. So Pittsburgh at home, a good matchup. You saw last year the hype going into that game, and we handled them. So that's an exciting game. Yeah. Those are what really sticks out at me. Kind of a cushy stretch to end the season too after Tampa.
Yeah, the stretch leading into Tampa is really, really intriguing. And we'll get to that. We'll talk about that when we get there, when we're picking the Bills schedule. And that's what we'll start doing right now. You mentioned the home opener, so we'll get right into it here. The home opener is against the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team that was probably more competitive last year than they will be this year. I said on Twitter earlier last week that I think that it's more likely the Steelers miss the playoffs than make the Super Bowl, and I don't think that's a hot take whatsoever, especially because of Ben Roethlisberger being the quarterback still. Again, sorry, Father, if you're watching or listening right now. I think your Steelers are not going to be very good this year. There's not a lot of analysis for me to put into it other than we beat them last year. They're worse this year. This should be an easy win for the Bills.
Yeah, I mean, I was rooting for this game. I was pulling it off. I took it early, as you guys know, in the scheduled draft. I like the mojo that'll be around the game. I mean, it'll be pumped up, raucous crowd. Everyone will be, hoping to be back in the stands, full capacity, looking like they just announced that today, full capacity with vaccination. So, it is what it is. You're going to have to go out there and get your vaccination to be in the stands there. But we're pretty excited for this game. I loved it. I loved it on paper. I think that the Steelers are worse. The Bills are at least equal to where they were, and the Steelers are worse. They basically used their draft pick to upgrade from James Conner, got a little bit more out of it there with Najee Harris. I don't see too much going on there in that on that offense. It's still going to struggle mightily. I think the Bills win by 15 in this game.
With 15.
Crowd. I got them winning by 15.
Easily covering that 5.5 point spread that they're opening with, right?
I think it's a good game. I think the Bills take advantage of it, and I just don't see the Steelers getting it done. They seem to struggle against the Bills in their aggressive style of defense. So I'm rooting. The Bills are the play here. I don't think the Steelers offense has enough to compete with the Bills offense. That's kind of where I'm at. I'm looking at like a 35-20 performance in this one, and the Steelers. I'm in agreement. I think they go 9-8.
Mm-hmm. And kudos to you for remembering to make that a 17-game record, because Merekat and I were talking before we got on here. That's harder to do. It's harder to do more than ever right now. There's going to be a lot of people publishing articles with
new quarterback in Pittsburgh next season, guys.
Oh yeah, I think there should have been one this year. Honestly, I'm a firm believer in that. Merekat, should the Steelers have anything to look forward to other than seeing a picture of Sean McDermott and Mike Tomlin together in college?
Other than that, not much. I'm kind of with Kevin. I'm confident heading into it. It'll be, there'll be a decent amount of hype behind it. It's not some Steelers aren't necessarily trash. I mean, last year the record doesn't reflect what they were. I think Roethlisberger washed up, and like Kevin said, bouncing off of it, their aggressive style of defense, kind of matches up well against us. A lot of other teams it doesn't, but when you have Josh Allen who could evade that pass rush, make plays on the fly, you saw some of the hits they kind of took losing guys this offseason. I'm going in very confident we start the season 1-0, and I hope we blare Renegade.
Oh, I know we will. And if we don't, then Sean McDermott will be having a firm talking with whoever's running the music up there. So we all have them going 1-0 going into week 2 away against Miami. First look at Tua in his sophomore year. First look at him with Jalen Waddle as a receiver. Merekat, how do you feel about week 2 against Miami?
Miami, it all depends on Tua this year. I know, Kevin, I think you are too, you're kind of down on Tua. I'm not necessarily down on him, and I think with the weapons they added, he might be able to do something. I don't know. Give him a full season. We'll see what goes on. They have the weapons now. The offensive line's a bit questionable, but still, I'm not afraid. I think we start the season 2-0 with 2 easy wins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm not very afraid of Tua whatsoever. I mean, like, he can take a step forward just like anybody can, but the Dolphins have to stop playing this, stop making fun of Tua card. Like, it's so obnoxious and annoying. Like they're saying that no one has ever been doubted in their second year more than Tua. They were shitting on Josh Allen way more than anyone in the NFL is shitting on Tua right now. But that being said, I don't think he's a very good quarterback right now. He can absolutely develop, but I mean, I feel like it'll be whatever Kyler Murray does is probably going to be to his ceiling. And if Kyler Murray's sophomore season is what we're going to get into this year, I like us to handle them on the road. I'd really do. So 2-0 for me. Kevin?
Yeah, I mean, what's funny is I think you'll see Jacoby Brissett this season at some point throughout the year. Yeah, maybe closer, maybe getting a couple games in. Our guys at Dolphins Talk will defend Flores to the bitter end, saying it's the right move. We already know it's coming, but you will see Jacoby Brissett at some point, whether it's injury, whether it's that weird closer role, whether it's to start games in general. You're going to see Jacoby Brissett in this one. I don't love their offensive line. They made some moves. Solomon Kinley's in there, and they moved Robert Hunt. They have Matt Skura, Michael Dieter. It's not the best offensive line in the world. They've struggled with it. They've been trying to mix and match and replace. They spent all these picks that they've acquired on this, and they're still moving their picks like Hunt inside and stuff. So it's an offense that still could struggle at times. We'll see what Myles Gaskin brings to the table. Malcolm Brown. They do have some pass catching weapons. The defense is going to play strong, but they can struggle at times depending on who's healthy in that defensive backfield. I got the Bills winning this one as well. They seem to always play Miami well under Josh Allen. I have 27-17 jotted down, and that's where I'm living. Miami will play a little tighten up on defense at times in the game, but the Bills will take advantage and go 2-0.
It's 2-0 for all of us heading into week 3 against Washington. Return of Fitzmagic, return of Jarrett Patterson to Buffalo, Ron Rivera and Sean McDermott, Brandon Beane reunion. Kevin, start with you this time. What is your prediction for week 3 home? First NFC game of the season. Josh Allen, 8-3 in his career against NFC teams.
Plays well against the NFC historically, and they don't have the offensive firepower to keep up with the Bills. I'm not 100% sure I see their defense. I saw the tweet today that they're going to run a 5-3-3.
I really think I hope that was Bleacher Report, like social media intern, just messing up and not knowing football alignments.
They will get absolutely annihilated by real offense. Could they stop Miami? Maybe. They're going to get absolutely annihilated by real offenses if they're going to run a 5-3-3. They're not going to be able to keep up. So I don't know if that was just a mess up, guys. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I don't love their back 7 anyways. Really? I think they have a very strong front 4, front 5. That's why they might be looking at that 5-3-3 if that's a real thing. I don't love that back 7. They just sunk a first round pick in Jamin Davis. Is he going to be a difference maker? We'll see. I don't like John Bostic at all. Not a big Cole Holcomb fan. They still run Cameron Curl and Landon Collins back there in the defensive safety backfield. I'm not a big Washington fan. I liked what they had to do last year. I liked the progress they made. They don't have a plan at quarterback at all. I like Terry McLaurin. Can he stay healthy? We'll see. I'm not a big Antonio Gibson fan, believe it or not. I actually like J.D. McKissick a little bit. I think he's a good pass catching option out of the backfield, but I have the Bills handedly winning this game 31-10.
Wow.
I'm not a Washington fan. I don't think they're very good. I don't even think they'll beat. I think the Giants will finish in front of them, to believe it or not.
So this is where it's gonna get fun. This is where I have the first loss for the Bills. There's something about this game that it doesn't sit right with me. Their running attack you may not be an Antonio Gibson fan, and that might be where we differ the most here. I think he is easily a top 10 running back in the NFL right now. And they got a massive value with Jarrett Patterson as a UDFA. I don't know if he'll, like, I saw someone tweet that they think he's going to, and not just some random guy, like someone from PFF said that he's like Jarrett Patterson will be the one undrafted player to run for 100 yards in a game this year. He absolutely could be. I'm not going to bank on that, but just with a well-rounded rushing attack, McDermott defenses have actually always been really, really porous against running backs, and we've kind of seen that in his time with the Bills so far. In fact, there was a time where he was averaging more than one rushing touchdown against per game. And so I think that when a team is so well-rounded with good pass catchers like Terry McLaurin and Curtis Samuel, they have a guy who's not afraid to push it down the field, and they have someone who's, and Fitzmagic, obviously, he's going to take as many risks as he needs to. And they have different backs who can get it done in different ways. That does scare me a little bit. And their defense is more than good enough, and they're well coached enough to get a win. I think this is the definition of a trap game, if there was one for the Bills this year. So this is where I have the first.
The problem I have with Gibson is that he only played good against the Cowboys and the Bengals in 3 games. His numbers are super inflated. So if you take those games out of it, he had a horrible rookie year, believe it or not. So I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of him. You know, between week 7 and 12, he played super good. He didn't start the year particularly well. He didn't finish it particularly well. Rushing for that, he had that awful game against the Eagles in week 17. I think he had 19 carries. He looked terrible doing it. So, you know, he's got talent. I just don't like a Ryan Fitzpatrick-led offense. I thought he was best case scenario last year, and they don't really have a plan behind McLaurin to me.
Merekat, break the tie.
All right, well, I'm going with the Bills. I think, but I think this is not going to be a blowout type game. I think this is one of those type games where the pass rush might get to Allen a little early. Washington's front 4 is very strong, and you might see the Bills head into halftime, you know, down 10-7, 14-10, something like that. And then I see him blowing it open in the second half, adjusting, plus Fitzpatrick melting down. But Fitzpatrick's I mean, I don't trust Fitzpatrick, but his arsenal of receivers is pretty good. I mean, J.D. McKissick isn't a running back. He's a receiver out of the backfield. Terry McLaurin is awesome. Curtis Samuel, very good. I thought he was going to be awful transitioning out of college from running back to receiver. Completely proved me wrong. Adam Humphries, low-key a decent pickup. They drafted Diami Brown, who I like. You see what Logan Thomas is doing. I mean, that offensive line holds up. I like Antonio Gibson personally. His numbers were a bit inflated. He was a streaky type of guy, but watching him actually play a few games, I just like what he brings to the table. I like his style of play. You know, if he sees more consistency this year, maybe. I know they have McKissick too, who you saw getting double-digit targets in some games, but Gibson's a good receiver. He's a pretty good receiver. I mean, he was a receiver in college, you know, coming out of Memphis. So I think this is one of those games. It could be kind of trappy. It could be going into halftime losing, but I think we come away with it maybe by double digits when all is said and done.
All right, so 2 3-0s, 1 2-1, going to that is staying home against Houston. No one's going to pick a loss because this might be the worst team in the NFL. All right, can we move on?
I mean, return of Tyrod. I'm just kidding.
Okay. So week 5 against Kansas City. Who went last that time? Merekat did. So Merekat, kick this one off. What do you have going for when we visit Kansas City on Sunday Night Football in week 5?
This might change, you know, come week 5, but I have this being our first loss right now. It's just Kansas City's very good. I mean, they made some questionable moves here and there, but it's still, you see what they do to us every time. We didn't address cornerback too, and I'm just not sold on Dane Jackson being, you know, the second coming as our CB2, which some people think he might be with, you know, you see some of Bean and McDermott's comments about him this offseason. But I just think when you face a team like KC and, you know, you got Kelsey, it's just a lot. It's just not a good matchup for Buffalo. It really isn't. And so unless we can really get after, you know, the investments in the defensive line, the reshuffling, getting Starr back and seeing how that affects Oliver, you know, that's why I want to see the first 4 games before I can actually say I think this is going to be a win, because right now it sucks to say, but hey, Kansas City crushes us.
Yeah, I'm kind of there with you. I don't think what they did on their offensive line is good for them. I feel like what they did to, you know, replace everybody that they lost last year, it's not nearly good enough. I don't think Orlando Brown's a better run blocking offensive lineman, a better run blocking left tackle than he is a pass blocking, and that's why he was so good in the Ravens offense. It's not going to be the same thing with the Chiefs. Then they got a lineman to come out of retirement, and then they just everybody else. I'm super underwhelmed, and everybody seems to be praising like this is how you rebuild an offensive line in one season. Why do you have to rebuild an offensive line in one season to begin with? Like I don't love it. I do have this as a loss, but like I'm more in the middle of the seesaw of this debate for this game than I am leaning towards the loss. So it could easily be a win. I really do think it could be, but it will probably come down to if we add a CB2, and if we don't, what does Dane Jackson actually look like? Kevin, how do you feel about this?
I do think the Bills going with a CB2, guys. I think the Dane Jackson thing's a bunch of smoke.
I think so too.
I think they're just saying that right now. Great. Corner 4, corner 5 prospect to have on the roster and develop in a pinch like he did last year. Be on the active roster more than last year too. But I just don't see him. They think at all that he's going to be a CBT. I don't think it. I think that's kind of funny to me. They're going to draft cornerback too, guys. I think it's going to be either a trade or a vet at some point here in the next 3 months. I think going after Nelson, they were in on Hayward throughout that process, and he chose to go to Vegas. So I mean, I think that they're going to be into this cornerback market, and then if Nelson signs elsewhere, they'll be heavily in on Richard Sherman. So we'll see how that all plays out, but I think they're looking at cornerback too. And I actually have a Bills win here, guys. I'm going to say that I think the offensive line of Kansas City's they sunk a lot into that for Joe Thuney and Austin Blythe, Creed Humphrey, Orlando Brown, and Trey Smith. That's 5 out of 7 new offensive linemen. Laurent Duvernay-Tardif is coming out of being a doctor back onto the field. It's a lot of action to be missing. I wanted to play Kansas City week 1 because that's when I don't think their offensive line would be gelled. I think that's when
if this was week 1, I would have picked a win. That goes with I would have.
I don't think it's a bad move right now. I mean, I still don't love anyone. I've said this on the AFC Championship game. Besides Tyreek Hill, I don't love, and Travis Kelce, obviously, I don't love the receivers. I really don't. So I think the Bills have a better plan for Kelce this time around.
A healthy Tremaine Edmonds, hopefully.
A healthy Tremaine Edmonds. That's what they've been focusing on all offseason, guys.
Is getting him healthy.
That's why, like I said, I right now I can't say as a loss or as a win, because if we do address CB2, which I think we will, I'm right there with you, Kev. Then it changes a bit, but we don't have corners right now that can run. We just don't. They can't run. And Casey's receivers outside of Tyreek Hill might not be that talented, but pretty much all of them can flat out run and get separation down to Brian Pringle. I'm actually personally a fan of Mecole Hardman. Personally a fan of Mecole Hardman. Hardman. I agree with you. We need that CVT. We need a quarterback that can run to, they might not be the most talented guys, but that speed destroyed us last year.
This is definitely a game that's going to divide Bills fans in what people what they think is realistic, what they think isn't realistic, what people think is an exaggeration. It's easily going to be the most exciting game on the calendar, though, up until that point. Much more exciting than the next week at Tennessee for the Monday night game. I think this is a terrible Monday Night Football game. I'm going to be completely honest. I think Tennessee got really bad. They lost all their difference makers and kind of plugged it. It's like the meme where you just put duct tape over the water break in the giant tube, and then it's like, yeah, it's fixed. No, you don't. You can't patch losing Corey Davis up with Josh Reynolds. Is that the guy? Yeah, that's the guy.
Josh Reynolds.
Yep. Yeah, and they lost Adam Humphries too, who didn't really do anything anyways, but they didn't really replace him either.
Nick Westbrook is going to step in for him. It's not a good roster, guys. They're not going to be playing off of COVID, thinking they're going to be playing Kansas City. I don't like Tennessee. I don't like their roster at all. I hate this team. I'll never pick them. Actually, I went 17-1 picking the Bills last year on record on this show. Lost this game last year, picking it wrong. But I'm still going to say I don't love it. Their Bills aren't going to be coming off of sleepy random Tuesday or whatever it was. I got the Bills 31-13 in front of basically half Bills fans that are going to be traveling to this game. They did lose a lot of players, like you mentioned, a lot of new starters or defensive lines, fairly new.
This entire secondary is new too.
Yeah, entire secondary. Janoris Jenkins, Breon Borders is in a starting ex-Bill. Dane Cruikshank. They're going to start Caleb Farley. We'll see how his health looks. Don't like this roster at all. Vrabel will get the most out of him at points. As long as we don't have a random Tannehill game, guys. I can't have the Bills starting 6-0, but I have them starting 6-0.
Meerkat?
Yeah, I hate their roster too. Their defense is blah. I would say, I'm not going to trash their secondary that much. Some good moves. Kevin Byard is amazing, and then Janoris Jenkins. Janoris Jenkins is he's Janoris Jenkins, and adding Farley if he's healthy and Molden, those are two solid moves. But still, I'm not really scared about our receivers doing work against them. And you look at their receivers. I mean, Des Fitzpatrick is starting right now, and a guy I bring up every time I can, Anthony Ferkser, is their starting tight end.
He's my favorite tight end in the NFL.
Ferkser.
It's just if Ferkser, throws up 80 yards against us, and that I'm just so sick. Every time a tight end has a chance to do anything against us, I get afraid just because I hate the linebacker slander. Yeah, I'm not dealing with it this year.
No, and after this game, you shouldn't have to deal with it. Maybe Derrick Henry trucks Matt Milano or Tremaine Edmonds once or twice, but he does that to everybody in the NFL. So but then that one random guy and I don't know what he does, but he'll just be like, he could have tackled him for a 1-yard gain instead of a 4-yard gain. Okay, yeah, buddy. All right. Week 7, the Bills got a bye week. Then they have the Squish the Fish game on Halloween. That might be one of the best home atmospheres all season, except for the primetime game against New England. I had them beating them on the road. I have them beating them at home. I don't got anything else to say on that.
Yeah, we can't. I mean, it's the same game. I picked them to win in Miami. Or what would change here? I can't be 8-0. Or what are we 7-0 now at this point?
You're 7-0 at this point. Yeah. You can
I was
be.
well under you last year. I was well under you at least 2 games under you last year.
Yeah.
They will lose one of those games, but I'm feeling good about them all, and I'm feeling 7-0. Like I'm not a homer. Clearly, I'm not.
You're not.
I'll talk about the problems. I don't love their draft. I'm on record saying I don't love their draft this season. I like Boogie Basham. He was my favorite pick by far. I don't love the draft that they had beside that. 7-0, guys. Nothing to say.
And Meerkat, you also got the win. So it's, again, nothing more. We'll let Meerkat go first with week 9 here. First look that we'll get at Trevor Lawrence and Bill's darling Travis Etienne. Man, Meerkat, what do you have going down in Jacksonville? Hopefully it'll be better than the last time we played down there.
I don't root for people to fail usually. I'll support anybody, but Urban Meyer, I want him to go 0-17, flat out. I hate him back from the Ohio State days. He's such a diva. He's a drama queen. He does all this bullshit. The Tim Tebow signing just makes me sick. I mean, I hope Tebow gets cut because who will be their starting tight end then is Canisius graduate, Canisius College, right here in Buffalo. Chris Manher. It's not really a football school, but hey, give it to them. And then he's putting ETN out at wide receiver. It's just why are you doing this to this kid? Let him play running back. Why do you even draft him with James Robinson? I think, and I want this to be a 35-13 type of game. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be great. Don't get me wrong. And the Jags receivers, I mean.
You mean Travis Etienne, by the way?
Yeah, I mean, Etienne, you see how it goes, but I like Chark. Marvin Jones is the most consistent guy in the NFL. Chenault is awesome. He can do a lot of different things in an offense. And, Colin Johnson was a good draft pick last year. A few young defenders on that team. I mean, Miles Jack and Josh Allen and stuff are great players. Clavon Chason and CJ Henderson weren't bad picks last year. Added Shaquille Griffin. They're not a terrible roster. There's glaring holes, but as a whole, it's not the worst roster. I just think it's a poorly coached team. There's already a ton of bullshit going into this season. Bills by $1 billion.
I feel like this is going to be a 45-21 win for the Bills. I feel that's my May 17th score prediction of this. It's going to be an easy win. I honestly do think so. Kevin, is this where you give the Bills their first loss?
It is not. I'm a big ETN fan. I thought he presented the option to be a receiver weapon. That's why I thought it made sense for the Bills to take at 30. And I'm still living on the dream that I still think he was the reason that they were trying to trade back at 30 and trying to still score Greg Rousseau after the running backs went. So I think he was. We'll never know. The answer Brandon Beane gave was not nearly what people think it was. It was not we weren't drafting running back. It was we liked a couple of guys and they were gone. Yeah. So love ETN. Want to see what he can do in Jacksonville. See what he can do with Lawrence. Bills are 8-0, and I'm struggling here, guys, with an 8-0 record.
Yeah, Kevin's at 8-0. I am at 6-2. Meerkat is at 7-1. And now we see our second AFC East opponent of the year in New Jersey against the Jets. I do think they have the potential to be the most improved team from this division for this year. That's also because they were the worst team in this division last year. But, I'm not going to knock it. Carl Lawson, they added a lot of great people, a lot of good receivers that will give Zach Wilson at least, the chance to figure out who he likes throwing to. Maybe they'll have trouble figuring out, the snap counts, because you could argue that every receiver they have should be starting on some team for the most part, like even down to Denzel Mims. But McDermott is so good against young quarterbacks. So, I'm going to pick a win against the Jets.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Not much to say. I think it's summed up pretty well. I don't think they're there yet. They're 2 years removed, maybe, from potentially being good. We'll see all these draft picks play out, but I got the Bills. I'm scarily at 9-0.
I did like their draft this year and last year, though. Well, credit to Joe Douglas. Meerkat, how do you feel?
Yeah, I like what the Jets have done, but I don't think they're ready yet. I'm not a huge Zach Wilson guy. Win.
All right. Now, this, I think, is where we see Kevin's first loss on the schedule. Home against Indianapolis. It was one of his picks in our scheduled draft. Kevin, I kind of called you out there, made a prediction. So is my prediction of your prediction correct?
I thought they played the Bills mighty well in the playoffs. They did. And I still think this is what led to the being like, hey, can we not try to poach our coaches midweek, please?
100%.
I think this was the game that why the Bills brought a new rule to the table and it was considered. Yes, I think Indianapolis will be able to get it done against the Bills. But I got the Bills winning because I am not a Carson Wentz fan at all. I thought the previous Indy teams
cross out the tally. I had I'm keeping track.
Would have been able to get it done. This is a game I think the Bills will take advantage of them finally. I don't think they particularly got much better. I like Kwity Paye. He was pretty high in Kevin's big board. I didn't think they did much else across there. We'll see what Carson Wentz is. I mean, he's an injury away from us seeing Jacob Eason, guys. He's not Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers is an Iron Man.
Yeah.
He's one injury away from not playing in this game. That's my prediction. If he plays in this game, I do think I have Indianapolis pulling it off. They have a strong defense, good offensive line. If he's not playing and we're seeing Nick Eason, it's going to be a 40-point win. So I'm predicting not seeing Carson Wentz. Maybe Meerkat sees he plays 17 weeks. I don't know. I don't see Carson Wentz by week 11. I don't.
But you are picking a win because as it stands, he is the quarterback.
I am picking a win as of today.
Yes.
This is one I wouldn't want early, guys. I would not want this week 1 or 2.
No.
I want the benefit to see him unravel, to see some injuries. The Bills won't get knocked too much. I do think the Carson Wentz injury bug will pop up, and
I think so.
We'll see kind of what happens there. But I still got a Bills win. But my losses are coming.
All right, Meerkat. Home versus Indy, how do you feel?
Loss number 2, but I agree with Kevin. I was going to say the same thing. If Carson Wentz's super glue is still intact, this team scares me. Put any competent quarterback in this offense with Frank Reich calling the shots. I mean, it's a scary thing. They played the Bills' toughest game last year, that we didn't get blown out in, was definitely that Indy game. It was a great game. Yep. They got better. I mean, you had a guy like Eric Fisher to your line, help short up a bit, but it's still not a great line outside of Quentin Nelson. So defense doesn't scare me a ton outside of the front 7. Kwity Paye, great move for them. I had him going way higher. Darius Leonard is probably my favorite defensive player in the NFL that's not on the Bills. He's incredible. He's a game breaker, and but still, it's a close one. If Carson Wentz is healthy and got some rhythm, a little momentum, they're gonna win this. I think. I don't know. It's one I don't want to pick. I almost feel like it's a loss that I want to make it a win and just be a sketchy win, but I feel like there's no way the Bills only have one loss at this point. And Kevin's got him undefeated. With hey, I'm all for.
Oh yeah. Oh no. I mean, I'll pick them to go
Oh,
17-0. I mean, I will, but I'm not gonna actually do that. I will pick a win this time though. I think like Kevin basically summed it up. Carson Wentz is not as good as Phillip Rivers, and he is much less durable. I stand by, if you take quarterback off of every team, and you can't do that.
That's right.
But if every team had the same quarterback, the Colts might be the best team in the NFL. They just have such a giant hole. They may have a giant hole at quarterback, and their wide receivers aren't that great. But like, okay, if you take out two major positions that are super important, they might have the best team in the NFL. But I think the Bills are just as complete. When you
and with an injury-prone quarterback,
quarterback, and like all their running backs are injury-prone too. Literally every single one.
Right.
So
the Bills playing with QB2 Mitch Trubisky, and I mean they have a chance to win this game. Yeah. I mean, and other games. I don't see it with Indy. Like I think they're relying way too much on. I think this team could be anywhere from really good in Indy to looking at it like a Philly team, like literally like a Philly team of the last couple of years.
6-11. Honestly,
I wouldn't be shocked, honestly, if he goes down and they're playing Jacob Eason throughout the season and Sam Ellinger at times. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. It's scary. It's scary at this stage, guys. Let's talk in September, but it's scary at this stage to think that Carson Wentz will play effectively at that point. And I love this Indy roster. You guys know that. I thought they downgraded at quarterback, and I thought Phillip Rivers was really good in the playoffs. I thought he went out with a fight.
Now, if they sign Zach Ertz, this changes a lot, honestly. If they are the team that lands
either
Zach
way,
Ertz,
right?
Yeah.
Well, still, I mean, they got Jack Doyle and Mo Alley Cox.
Yeah. So the question is, do they really need Zach Ertz? But then, Ertz and Doyle would be way better than the Ebron Doyle thing that they were throwing out there too. So it's interesting.
And another team, another quick note, it's another team with wide receivers who can flat out run. I mean, Paris Campbell, I like Michael Pittman Jr. a lot. I think he's a guy who has kind of a sophomore breakout season. And T.Y. Hilton's just Mr. T.Y. Hilton. He does the same thing every single year. He's getting up there in age. If he's healthy, he's a threat. I mean, the fast receiver thing just scares me this year.
It does, and that's where a lot of teams are going, is the fast receivers. One team, I don't know really what they're doing at receiver. Maybe Traquan Smith. It's time for him to be a number one in New Orleans on Thanksgiving. I love that we got a Thanksgiving game, but am I allowed to be mad that it's against New Orleans? Because like it takes away the road trip. Like, in all honesty, I don't want to be like, oh, woe is me. But, like, I haven't seen my family in 2 years, so I want to spend Thanksgiving with them, After this is going to be an important time to be at Thanksgiving with your families. New Orleans, Bills Mafia taking on.
It takes the travel bite out of it.
It does.
So Merekat loses a little bit with the travel because it's going to be tough for all of us.
But he gains it for the Thanksgiving night.
Yeah.
It's like it's a perfect offset.
Like the people who can travel on Thanksgiving, it's okay.
Oh, you're going to have such a good time.
You're going to want to be having Thanksgiving in New Orleans this time. That factor with,
on Bourbon Street, baby.
I love that city so much. I don't like the football team, though. I'll be honest. I think this is an easy win. I don't think it's a great football game. I think that if they wanted the Bills on Thanksgiving, I think they have better games to choose from. This should be a double-digit win in my eyes, and I don't know if it'll be close.
It comes down to quarterback for me again. If Taysom Hill really is going to be the starting, every down QB, which I don't think happens, this team's going to be a dumpster fire. I'm a Jameis Winston truther. I don't think he's the best quarterback in the world, but I don't think he's the worst. Like he's painted out to be. And I think the last year under Breeze actually did a lot for him. You heard coaches talk about it. I think he's going to be the starter at this point. I think with that offense, I mean. I don't know what's going to go on Michael Thomas, but Alvin Kamara is incredible. Latavius Murray fit into that offense really well as a RB2 last year.
Good as an RB2,
their offensive line's good. Their defense is actually pretty good. I mean, they filled a couple gaps there. They drafted Pete Werner. They drafted Paulson Adebo, two good high-end prospects who could easily be kind of bust guys, but could really fit in with the right coaching and stuff there. Good secondary. I think it's a better game than some people are making out to be, but still kind of
people meaning me. You can just say better than Wake is making it out to be. But you still have a win. You said sorry. I just stopped listening.
Yeah, I still have it. It's a pretty confident win.
All right, Kevin.
Yeah, I mean, guys. I'm looking at quarterbacks here. I think they're going to struggle in this game. I got the Bills winning this game. I got it a close one, though. 27-24 is what I had jotted down. I think it's going to be super close. I think the Bills are going to struggle in this game a little bit at times. I think they're well coached in New Orleans. But the Bills are going to have enough. It's going to remind me of the Arizona game a lot. This is the Arizona game from last year without the luck chuck. 27-24. I think it's going to be that exact game to me, guys. Without a Hail Mary. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. I'm looking at a Josh Allen led drive at the end of the game without tossing it up to DeAndre Hopkins. So that's where I'm at with this one. My numbers have been high on the Bills win total, but I just
you're
don't
up at
think
11 right now.
I don't think it's that good of a schedule. I think they kind of start off, they get the talk like the Steelers got last year. Yeah. But I think that they finish some games that the Steelers weren't able to.
All right, well, we're going to get to the home stretch here in just a minute, and we'll see if Kevin does have the Bills going undefeated. What?
No.
I'll tell you who is undefeated. It's Amherst Ale House. All the people flooding that place the past couple days, getting free drinks on Maniac. Tonight's the last night for that. So if you want, make sure you go in there, say Sabres Stanley Cup 2022, and Maniac is obligated to buy you one alcoholic beverage of your choosing. Amherst Ale House been serving amazing pizza, wings, and beer since 2005 in Buffalo, and obviously everyone knows I love the pizza tots. I will be back in Buffalo next week, and I told my dad on the way back that's the first place that we are going is Amherst Ale House. I'm getting pizza tots. And I might live stream myself eating them. Maybe, oh my God, that'd be so good. I can't wait so much. Local restaurant. I'm just getting excited about Pizza Tots, guys. They're reopening, larger capacities. They still need our help right now. The pandemic's almost over. We do see the light at the end of the tunnel, but the local businesses we love, they still need our help. So please order from Amherst Ale House for all, whenever you're just supporting local businesses for takeout or soon indoor dining as well. Call them, place an order now, 716-625-7100. So next game, 2 primetime games in a row, this time home against New England on Monday Night Football. Like we already said, we would have liked to have seen a few more home primetime games. As a season ticket guy now myself, I really wish there were. But you know what? I still get 9 games to go to this year, and I'm not mad about that at all. This is at the top of my list of ones I'm excited for. I think it's a win. I do not have the Bills sweeping the AFC East again this year. I loved the sweep T-shirts we were putting out last year. I don't know if we're going to be able to do that again. It's so hard to sweep your division. Tom Brady barely swept the AFC East, and you know how dominant he was. Josh Allen, is he going to be that dominant? Maybe, but I don't know if this is going to be the year he continues it. I have him a win now against New England, but I do have some losses in the division later on in the season.
Yeah, I have this one as a win. I won't say anything else on that, but I just think with the environment it's going to be, home Monday Night Football, early December in Buffalo. Bills hopefully are going to be rolling at this point. Patriots, who knows how their quarterback situation is going to unfold throughout the season. Things might change. Matt Jones might be a superstar, but for right now, I'm seeing him as a human jar of mayonnaise. So I have this as a win.
Guys, the crowd's going to be too crazy. It's going to be crazy.
We're going to get some crowd assists.
I think we have some spoiler alerts. I have the Bills losing this game on the road, but I do have this as coming for a victory. They are not going to sweep Belichick. They're not going to go 4-0 on him in recent memory. They're not going to go to back-to-back 6-0s. So we have a loss. It looks like maybe a joint Patriots loss coming here soon, but I have the Bills getting it done. They get it done in primetime. This game, I'm going back to last year, reminds me of the 49ers Monday Night Football game. 49ers played a pretty, we're coming in pretty decent. They were looking okay, thinking they figured some stuff out, and Josh Allen torched Robert Saleh. I'm looking at the same thing here, guys. The Bills are going to get it done on primetime Monday Night Football. Josh Allen seems to play pretty well underneath the lights. It's going to be a pretty crazy crowd for the first time in a long time. Beside the Steelers game week 1, this is going to be the next real big home game. It's going to be the game everyone wants. Can't pick a Bills loss here.
You can't pick a Bills loss here. Mm-hmm. You really can't.
No. They're coming, though. They're coming.
They do have a tough, not a tough stretch, but a tough few games. And before we keep going here, let's just look, because this is where it starts to get a little sketchy in terms of short and long weeks. So if you look at it like on the right side of the screen or the left side of the screen, I'm sorry, for the regular season, they don't have a short week until when does it even come? Because it wouldn't be
the short weeks start here.
Yeah, the short weeks start exactly right here.
The back short weeks starting here.
And even after their Monday Night Football game against Tennessee, they get their bye week. So they don't have a short week then. They just have a weird combination of 5-day weeks, 6-day weeks. Like, just it gets a little dicey here, especially we don't know when the Carolina game is going to be in a couple of weeks. It could be Sunday or Saturday. It could be flexed. I don't think that's a game that should be flexed, to be completely honest. But if they want to put Josh Allen on a Saturday, I'll fucking watch that.
They like the Darnold storyline.
The Allen Darnold storyline.
Best friends.
Best friends forever. Best friends forever. Ring.
Okay. McCaffrey's healthy. DJ Moore. There's some stuff to like about that game, guys.
There's some stuff. Oh yeah, and obviously all the McDermott.
Remember, they flexed 3 games too. It's not just. It doesn't need to be the best game of the slate. It needs to be 3 of 5.
Last year it was Denver and the Bills that got flexed, right? That wasn't
exactly. That game was terrible.
Yeah.
It was just a game the Bills needed to win to clinch, right?
They would be picking anybody with one good team. That's how they picked last year. That's what I expect them to do. And Carolina has the outskirts to be an average team, so I guess we can get into that game soon. But the big game's on fold here.
Yep, away at Tampa Bay. Right now, Kevin has the Bills at 12-0, so we're going to have him go last this time around. Me and Merekat, we have them at 10-2, respectively. Merekat, how do you feel about going against the former Super Bowl champions?
10-3. We're at 10-3. I mean, Tampa's built. They really are built.
They're a great team.
If it's a playoff matchup, it would be a Super Bowl matchup. I might have a different mind at that point, but it's just they're a good team. They're incredibly well coached. You got the Bills on a short week. I don't know. It's just I don't know. I want to pick the Bills to win. I think we can beat Brady. I'm not in love with their defense, but I got them as losing right now.
Yeah, I unfortunately have them losing as well. There are 2 teams that came back with more continuity than literally any other teams in the NFL, and they're these 2 teams, the Bills and the Buccaneers. This could be a Super Bowl. I would like our chances in the Super Bowl after seeing them once already, but they brought back every starter from a Super Bowl winning roster, which has never been done in NFL history. So, I mean, they're the defending champs for a reason. They have the same team. I don't got to say anything more than that. Kevin, it looks like their illustrious 12-game winning streak is coming to an end for you today, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just too good of a roster, guys. They didn't lose too much. Do I think Tampa's going to repeat? I really don't.
I don't either.
Could Brady go off into the sun? Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at this game on a 1 week 14 basis at Tampa Bay, and that's weird 4:30 time slot. I got Tampa winning this one. I think the Bills actually might look bad in this game, potentially.
They could, yeah. And there's a part of me that's kind of happy it's not on prime time, right? Yeah.
I got 31-17. You will see one of these games occasionally from Allen and McDermott. So, I've been generous to this stage, and I don't think they're going to get it done here.
Yeah.
And they're going to take the L here against Tampa Bay, but it was a good run. It was a very good run.
12-1 is nothing to be ashamed of. Moving on, the game we were talking about a little bit before, Tampa Bay home against Carolina. Allen v. Darnold, best friends forever. Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane and all the former Panthers against the Panthers. This is an easy win, but it'll be a fun game. It'll be a fun game to watch. I'll be rooting for Sam Darnold. It's gonna be the Adam Gase effect, right? Where Ryan Tannehill, where he just leaves, goes somewhere else with semi-competent coaching, and he is better than awful. That's what I'm expecting.
I think he has a Ryan Tannehill ability here in this role. I think they're going to build around him. I think Carolina won't be horrible. I really think this game will get flexed. It'll be primetime game number 2. Don't forget their new assistant general manager is now coming over from the Bills. So lots of synergy there. So Dan Morgan is going over there. You see him in videos and the behind the scenes stuff. It's going to be a good game. I really do. I think it's going to be a solid football game. Darnold would play tough at times in his career. I mean, I'm thinking 31-24 in this Bills victory, but I think it's going to be a good football game, and the Bills might sneak in their second primetime game, even if it's a Saturday at 4.
It's still primetime. It's on national TV.
I argued this last year, and people, when I said the Bills had so many time games, I had some Twitter trolls like, dude, it's not primetime is like written as 8 p.m. I'm like, guy, it's like 2021. There's no like written rules anymore about syndicates back in 1984 anymore. Like prime time is everybody in the nation is watching football and watching this game. Like, I don't care if it's 3 p.m., 6 p.m., or 4:30. Like Bills are getting primetime game number 2 here. I do think it gets flexed. I do think Carolina, I'm rooting for them a little bit because I want them to be able to give the Bills a primetime game and look at that.
Yeah.
That same range of 9-8 again.
And Darnold's back with Robbie Anderson, a receiver that he already has rapport with, and I feel like maybe they'll actually.
It's going to be an okay team.
Yeah, it's going to be an okay team. It'll be an okay team. They're not going to make the playoffs, but they'll be a competitive team. Meerkat, how do you see this game going down?
I think it's going to be a fun game. I think it's going to be competitive. I have it chalked as a win, and I say that pretty confidently. But yeah, I'm with Kevin. On Panthers could make a little noise. I don't hate Sam Darnold. I think he got the worst possible situation in New York for a while, and he's going to be looking to prove some people wrong.
Yep. Next up, away against New England. We all kind of already alluded to this, but I think we all have this as a loss, not because the Bills aren't better than New England, but just because it's hard to beat any team twice, especially when they're in your own division, especially when it's coached by Bill Belichick, especially when they have 2 of the top 8 tight ends in the NFL, and the Bills struggle against tight ends. It'll be a good game. The first game will be a good game too. This one's just not going to end the way we want it to.
Got a Bills loss. I think I just don't have him sweeping New England. I don't have him going 4-9. I think Belichick will get it done. This one will be sloppily similar to that punch game where he punched the ball out of Cam Newton and won. I don't think that punch is going to happen in this game from Justin Zimmer. New England's a good, well-coached football team. Maybe Dak Jones is looking good at this stage. Maybe they're doing enough. The Bills are kind of sleepwalking after that Carolina victory. Maybe a lot of stuff locked up at this stage. Maybe they just need a win here or there to get a certain seed. But I got the Bills losing here and not sweeping the AFC East back-to-back years.
Meerkat?
Yeah, I have it as a loss. I just don't see us sweeping the AFC East this year, and I think we go 5-1. I think this is the loss. I could see it being at Miami too, but I'm not. They could be one of these games going to be a toss-up. We're not going to sweep Belichick 2 years in a row, regardless who's at quarterback, because he's going to have who's playing the best at quarterback at the time. And they made a lot of good moves this offseason. It's not like we crushed them last year. They were close games.
They always play well at the end of the year too.
Yep.
Yeah, they always. Yeah, absolutely.
They might be in a wild card position. This might be a must-win game.
Exactly. Yeah, they'll be in a position where they need to win much more than they did when we beat them by 30 last season. But a team that probably won't be in that position, Atlanta at Highmark Stadium. Meerkat, do you want to tell people to not overreact to Kyle Pitts catching a touchdown?
Yeah, just don't. I'll mute you. Okay. If I see Matt Milano, Tremaine Edmonds can't cover Kyle Pitts tweets, you're muted. That's all I'm saying.
Wonderful. Yep. And a win. Kevin, anything else to say?
That team is so bad.
They're not a good team.
No.
They have fun weapons, but they're not a good team.
An injury from a weapon or two away from not being.
Calvin Ridley is a walking injury. I've had him in fantasy every year he's been in the NFL, and I'm missing him for half the year. So
when healthy though, one of the most underrated guys in the whole NFL.
I think he's a top 10 NFL receiver, to be completely honest. I really do. If he can stay healthy, but
they're a broken record away from just being terrible. The defense is always atrocious. I don't. Things could change, guys, if something happens there. But as of this stage, I just cannot see them losing this game.
Yep.
Yeah, I have this game as 37-7 Buffalo, with the lone Atlanta touchdown being Quadri Ellison just getting a 1 yard dive.
This guy.
Exactly. Yeah, give him a touchdown in front of the family.
Him and Jake.
I thought we were just talking about Pitts going over Milano.
No, that won't happen. I won't let that be a scenario in my brain because I'm not dealing with people.
Love that. Last game of the season, home against the Jets. I mean, we weren't going to lose there. Zach Wilson's mom has to drop him off at practice because he doesn't have his permit yet. We're not going to lose to a quarterback that can't drive yet. He just has first communion. it's a win. It's a win.
Mitch Trubisky, 21 of 28, 224 yards, 1 touchdown. Bills win.
And an interception, but we're not going to talk about that.
I was just going to say, this is the Mitchell Biscuits game that he goes in there and shows that he might be able to be an NFL starting quarterback. He's going to play balls to the wall. Normally, depending on who the Bills quarterback would be in this, I would pick a Bills loss because I just don't see many players playing long. I really don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a smart prediction is predicting a loss in general because if you're trying to be right, I think that they could lose this game based on being the twos and Jets trying to go out hot with Wilson, trying to look good for next year. And I could see I mean, I'm 50-50 on this game. I'll be honest, because I don't think anyone plays. I think they just take that big Atlanta win, wrap it up for the season. You see Josh for a quarter in this one, most a half. But I mean, with the long season, I think they need a second bye week, and I think you get it here. So I it's tough to pick this game because I don't know who's going to be playing in it. So I am going to pick the Bills winning. I think Mitchell Trubisky's it's going to mean a lot to him. He's going to at this stage be ready, and he's going to show like I'm ready if something happens to Josh in the playoffs, and maybe he's taking some snaps or quarters if Josh takes a bang on a running play at some point. So this is the Mitchell Trubisky game. I only have 2 Bills losses this year, but I'm not shocked at the Bills losing this game here. I'm really not.
Yeah, like Kevin said, he only has 2 losses. Merekat and I both holding pat at 13-4. I mean, realistically, this is where we should expect the Bills to be, anywhere from 12-5 to what we see on the screen here. I mean, 15-2 is a massive. I
mean, I'm looking at 14-3.
Oh yeah,
I think they're going to lose one of my wins. I think I go one above you guys. I think I miss one. But I mean, I think 14-3 is based on that schedule really, really realistic. You guys just have them losing the KC game for sure, and 1 Indy loss and 1 I forgot
Washington.
Meerkats all there.
Yeah, I had Washington. Yeah.
And okay, so I think they do win Washington or Indy, and that's where they make up the game you guys have at 4. But I mean, yeah, I think 14-3 is right. I think 12-5 is a bad season. I think bad, but 13-4 is a good. Let's take an average.
12-5 wins the division probably. And before this, before we started recording, I was thinking when I've been playing PlayStation with my friends, just talking about the Bills record. I think they're going 14-3. Just picking it. This is how it fell. Meerkat, do you feel relatively the same way?
Yeah. I see 13-4 all year. I wouldn't be surprised by 14-3. I'd be happy with it. I'd be elated. I think going 12-5 isn't the end of the world. Injuries and stuff. You don't know what's going to happen throughout the year, but I think 12's the floor.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, we want to know what you guys think. We're going to put this up in a graphic on Twitter when we get the interns, actually me on making the graphic. So I am going to be a little off the grid. You won't be seeing me active on Twitter much this weekend. So I'll make sure that I get a bunch of stuff out for you guys to consume before then. But this is it for this episode of the Crowd Assist podcast. We will be picking the Bills schedule a lot during the offseason, so make sure you stay tuned for that. We'll get some guests on to get their predictions on the Bills as well. So obviously a long summer ahead of us, and we appreciate all of you tuning in now and tuning in as we get Meerkat. Robbie Snyder agrees with you. Go Bills. Go Bills, Meerkat.
Go Bills.
Go Bills. That's the best way to end the show is go Bills. Shout out Outlet Liquor. Shout out Amherst Ale House. Shout out Meerkat and Kevin, and shout out everyone at Trainwreck Sports and you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next week.